can tell me.
Okay, but not a word.
No.
Michael and I are investing in a multiracial revival of Fences.
God, August Wilson. Timeless.
I know, and now integrated.
Hi everyone, I'm Dom Griffin. I'm a film critic and you're watching the Armchair Auteur. This is an ongoing video series I do where we talk about new movies, old movies, screenplay analysis, that sort of thing. So if you like movies and film culture and you like to see someone pick it apart, please consider subscribing. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the film The 40-Year-Old Version, written, directed, and starring Radha Blank, that hit Netflix back in October. Now, before we get into it, I have to explain why I am reviewing a film that came out in October here in the middle of February, and it has nothing to do with Black History Month. Like, at one point I was considering doing a video where I highlighted a bunch of good black movies that you can stream, but there's like 10 different articles that already do this on the internet, and like they're all pretty good, and I'm not trying to outdo them. I've linked one in the description below from the fantastic, great Valerie Complex. It's better than what I would put together, so you can see that stuff down there. The reason I'm reviewing this movie is because I missed out on it in kind of a big way. So the 40-year-old version actually debuted back in January of 2020, before all the full-on bad stuff happened, and it was a big hit at Sundance. In January of 2020 last year, if you'll recall, I was on a break from the channel. I had a new job that was like kind of overworking me. I was like severely depressed. I just was not making videos, didn't want to be on camera, yada yada yada. I was still doing film crit stuff, but I was doing it on a much more disengaged scale. When I remember this movie coming out and being at Sundance, I don't remember it being at Sundance. I remember it just coming out in January. Like, I remember seeing articles about it and seeing like the poster and stuff, and it was at the same time that I was receiving a lot of for your consideration screeners from the previous year. So for some reason, because I just had a lot going on, in my mind, I remembered getting a screener for this movie, which I didn't. Like, I never did, because it was only at a festival, hadn't even got distribution yet, but I remember getting a screener for it and not getting around to watching it and thinking, well, this came out last year, like, I'll see it eventually, you know what I mean? Basically, with the channel, I really don't review, like, movies that are old until they're, like, a little bit older, like not from last year. And then newer stuff I try to review as close to when it comes out as possible. Largely because people just don't pay as much attention to stuff that's like, here's a movie that came out 9 months ago. Like, people don't care. So what's frustrating though is that the movie did get distribution through Netflix. Netflix acquired it and they released it in October. In October, the channel was very active and I was primarily focusing on horror movie content throughout October. But I was on Netflix, and I don't remember seeing a single thing promoting this movie. I got like 400 ads for Vampires vs. the Bronx, yes, but I didn't see a single thing that this movie was out. And, Netflix kind of, pushes some original content harder than others, obviously, like everybody knows that, you know what I mean? Like the algorithm and stuff like that, but it is a little frustrating to me that like this movie came out in October and then didn't get much of a push at all, and then months later, like their social media is making like, y'all slept on this type of tweets about not watching this movie when it's like your platform is probably why most people didn't see it. Anyway, I'm not going to blame others for me missing out. It's my own fault for not being more on top of this type of stuff, but I did finally decide to check out the movie. I had a brief conversation with the filmmaker herself, Radha Blank, in the comments of another video on the channel, and I decided, I should watch this movie. Like, I had planned to watch it. I certainly give it a sense of urgency because I thought its relevancy had kind of already passed, but it came out a few months ago, and we're still in the heat of for your consideration season, so I decided to give it a look. For that reason. The 40-year-old version stars Blank as, well, a fictionalized version of herself, Radha Blank, a struggling playwright working by day as a public school teacher. She's nearing 40, but a decade ago won an award for being one of the most promising playwrights under 30, despite never having fully acted upon that potential. She has a play, Harlem Ave, that she's trying to get produced, but otherwise has to suffer repeated criticism from her students, her peers, and herself at not being where she feels she should be in life. Feeling disillusioned with the hypocrisy of the theater world and full of an energy she needs to expel, Radha funnels her frustrations into rap music, attempting to branch into emceeing as a way to create art that doesn't have to appease a theatrical producer or financier. It is a rocky start and doesn't exactly work out for her, even if the endeavor does bring a new suitor into her life. But the main thrust of the film actually deals with her putting on a compromised production of her long gestating play, a Harlem Ave with a white director, a shoehorned in subplot about gentrification, and a new white co-lead. So each of these strands culminate in Radha having to come to terms with her own issues with blooming later than tastemakers and prognosticators prophesied she would, and making a decision about how she's going to engage the world with her art on her own terms. Now, for my money, the 40-year-old version is one of the best films I've seen in recent memory to tackle the art world and how co-opted black culture becomes to white audiences. It's not that the points made are spun from whole cloth or groundbreaking, or like it's not that other movies haven't done similar things recently, But coming as they do from her personal perspective, Blank's slant rests askew in a really entertaining way, perfectly capturing a specific self-satisfied strain of pretension with relative ease. When we reach opening night for this sellout version of Harlem Ave that she's penned, the opening musical number so perfectly apes the Hamilton craze that I literally could not breathe. And that's actually true of the film's greatest gift. It's genuinely funny. While the film at times, with its black and white cinematography and sharp commentary, feels similar thematically to Spike Lee's 2000 film Bamboozled, it's 1, not anywhere near as acidic or vengeful, and 2, easier to connect to because it's anchored around Blank's personal experiences, so the musings and the hypocrisy of the art world aren't funneled through the more cartoonish characters of that particular satire. Making it more of a character piece than a broad takedown allows for the actual comedy to ring through with a more sincere vibe. It's a comedy that is actually genuinely laugh-out-loud funny, because she populates the piece with likable, flawed characters to drown out the frustrating antagonists who make Radha's situation so hard in the first place. Like, okay, the film's title clearly echoes Judd Apatow's directorial debut, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, but one of the verses she spits also seems to position the film as throwing a jab at his later work, This Is 40, a bloated and intermittently watchable diatribe about suburban middle-class ennui. Here, Blank issues a thesis on the difficulties of self-expression on the precipice of a big milestone birthday in a way that makes it accessible to anyone who feels out of lockstep with their dreams, anyone who wakes up finding themselves far from the beaten path of where they ought to be. And as nervous as I was that the hip-hop subplot would have the same kind of well-meaning but admittedly cringy vibe of Issa Rae's rap interludes from Awkward Black Girl and earlier episodes of Insecure, Blank is actually legitimately strong in the mic, so it feels like a more meaningful exploration of the form. The fact that she got Crisis doing the beats for her songs in the film and cameos from Young M.A. and Styles P also certainly helps. So obviously, I think people should see this film. It's definitely worth watching. I think it's very good. I do think that 95.999% of my viewers will see this film and like it. I don't think people are going to watch this and not get something out of it. But I want to make sort of a more specific plea about the film. We are still in for your consideration season. We are still in the period where people are deciding what movies are going to become Oscar contenders and things of that nature because of the COVID thing making the whole Oscar Academy Awards season last longer this year. And last week, I'm a member of WAFCA, the Washington Area Film Critics Association, and last weekend we did our nominating and voting and stuff, and we put our awards out for what our critic circle thinks are the best movies of the year. I'll link that in the description below as well. I didn't actually vote for half of the things that won. This year I was very out of lockstep, I guess, with the rest of the team, but that's down there. But when I had to do it, you have to go through and nominate each of the different categories, and then once we come to a consensus of nominees amongst the critics, then we vote on who we think is the winner, yada yada yada. And usually, one of the easiest categories for me to put together is the Best Original Screenplay and Best Adapted Screenplay category. But this year, when I was trying to think of movies that I thought were really well written, had really strong scripts that led to very good movies, it was very difficult to come up with them. I had to actually rack my brain to be yeah, I guess that's pretty good. I guess that has a pretty good script, which is never what you want to be thinking when you're thinking of the best of the year, And I think The 40-Year-Old Virgin is a perfect candidate for Best Original Screenplay this year. Now, it doesn't have a whole mountain of stuff behind it in terms of people thinking that. Blank herself did come up on Variety's Oscar predictions in sort of the later also-ran category as a dark horse for Best Director, because she did win a directing award at Sundance. She's the second black woman behind Ava DuVernay to ever do so. And her direction for this film is fantastic. It's very well staged. Everything looks really good. The actual ensemble performances are strong. Everything about her direction is fantastic, obviously. But to me, the thing that makes the movie so special is her voice, is the writing, is the character work, is the dialogue, all these things that really kind of are the building block of what makes the movie very good. And Best Original Screenplay used to be an Academy Award category that was reserved for spotlighting and shining a light on very good original movies, sort of movies that were bringing a new voice to the fold that weren't quite, within the milieu of what typically wins bigger awards like Best Picture and stuff like that. You know what I mean? A lot of very amazing movies either won or were nominated for Best Original Screenplay because it's the hip, cool award for look, this fucking movie is dope, we know it's dope, but there's a movie about a caravan and slaves or something that has to win Best Picture. So here's an award for the actual cool movie that you made. And in more recent years, that's not as true. A lot of kind of random movies have won that award, and but it's also a category that I think comedy Not that the 4-year-old version is like a comedy first per se, but it is a very good comedy. Probably the best comedy I've seen in a very long time. Best original screenplay is a category that comedy is also somewhat respected in. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of good comedies have actually won or been nominated for this award. And it is, to me, sort of a smart way to signify to people like, hey, this is a really cool special thing that you should be paying attention to, even if like the larger conversation around the bigger, obvious heavy hitters drowns it out. Now, I have a pretty small following, obviously, and I'm not a big enough proponent to single-handedly personally get a movie put into that kind of conversation. Clearly, I couldn't even get my like Critics Guild to like vote for certain movies that I really liked, obviously. So like, you know, my influence is small. But if you see this video, I urge you to see this movie, and I urge you to pay attention to like the words and the way the story comes together, and just how honest and true and like real it is. And I want you to think about that when Aaron Sorkin inevitably gets another statue for Trial of the Chicago 7. And just realize how much of an injustice that is. Thanks for watching the video. Like I said, the 4-year-old version is on Netflix, so if you have Netflix, definitely watch it. It's better than a lot of the movies on that platform. And I think it's really fun. I think it's really smart and just cool, and I think you'd really dig it. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the little bell icon to get notifications when I put out new videos. And if you have any thoughts about the film or about the Oscars or stuff like that, put them in the comments below. I'm happy to talk to you guys. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you guys are staying safe, being good to yourselves and each other, and I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to wear your mask. I know I've been saying this for months, but I still go to the store and see people mad about putting them on, and it's like, grow the fuck up. Bye.